The castaways who landed on Tarrantay at the start of the new millennium have been through many highs and many lows. But in just 2 weeks, they will have to leave their isolated community. How have they been changed by the Castaway experience?
That's a curious question.
A year ago, before they left for Tarrantay in the Outer Hebrides, the castaways were asked what they hoped to find and what they aimed to achieve in their year on the island.
Out in the wilderness, just me and the earth, and I want to go out there and dream and see if I can survive.
I like meeting people, I like new places, new food, new experiences, and doing as many stupid things as I can fit into my life.
We're thinking primarily about their education.
For me, to prove to myself that I can, change my lifestyle so dramatically.
It's like getting up every day and you do your day's work, and when you go home and you look back and think, well, what difference did that make?
My father was a farmer, and I've never really quite escaped from the shadow of the nobility of manual labour, you know.
I was told there was a drive-through McDonald's, and that so it should be okay for the self-sufficient side.
See, if the island had been like Barbados or something, I wouldn't have applied for it, because that to me is just, well, it's not real life really, is it?
All of our ideas about ourselves will change. I think we'll be very different people by the end.
Now, as the project does come to an end, the castaways are beginning to reflect on how they've changed, what they have achieved, and what they'll take back to the real world.
I'm going to be quite bored when I go home. I'm always going to be drifting back to this year. I'm going to be a mess, really.
It's going to be the saddest thing leaving here, because it is the most glorious place.
This time on my own has been my awakening and a chance to discover a lot of things about myself.
This island has changed people, and whether they'll admit it or not, I don't know, but in their heart they know it has.
Expectations for the project varied enormously. Some expected hardship, while others had different ideas. At the beginning of the year, Roger and Rosemary Stevenson refused to join their fellow castaways until their accommodation was as they'd expected.
We don't want to be there until it is leak-proof, warmed, and they're patently not.
Before long, the accommodation pods were finished, and the community's choice of supplies helped create a home away from home. But this proved too much for those castaways who'd expected a harder time. To find a lifestyle more like the one they'd hoped for, Mike, Toby and Trevor packed their bags for a 3-day survival trip.
I think we are going for a bit of hardship. A word that some people here absolutely despise. But it's a giggle. We can trot home. We know that we can do it. But that in some senses makes it harder on you mentally, because you know that 2 hours walk from wherever you are on this island, you've got a dry bed, a hot shower and a warm meal.
Oh, don't start already, Mike, I'm hungry.
You come here to do your own thing and find your own dream when you come to Tarrantay on this project. And if you miss it, you've wasted the year, in a sense. I mean, you'll get lots of other things, but if you don't get what you came for, you'll have lost a lot.
See you tomorrow morning, all right? Bye.
The intrepid threesome took a video camera but no food or shelter with them. This alternative castaway experiment would rely on whatever could be found on the shore.
What do you think will be on the menu tonight, lads?
Bit of seaweed. Now, hopefully, this looks like some good places to fish.
Yeah, I don't think I've stooped to eating seaweed quite yet.
Nah, I'd rather do 2-3 days without.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Seaweed. You sure this is safe to eat? Let's just get it over and done with.
Good lad.
Ooh, get it down.
How's the noodle wee?
Singapore or what?
You didn't get all the bits of limpet, did you?
I got a bit.
My turn.
What do you think of it? That is salty, isn't it?
Actually, it's not bad, is it?
Bollocks.
Would you,
okay.
would you ever consider eating that in normal life?
Depends how drunk I was, but yeah.
Really?
Honestly, yeah, that isn't bad, Mike. Honestly, I honestly think that's decent.
I think that is horrific.
What about fishing tomorrow? What's on the agenda, Toe?
I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Don't see why not. Cool.
If we don't get any joy off it, then sheep the next day.
I'll get some sheep.
Yeah, I don't mind helping you. Because we'll have to have a lamb or something.
Before he left for the island, Toby had imagined life on Taransay would involve killing for food.
I've always thought that getting the meat from the supermarket is too easy, and fancied maybe trying at least to kill my own animals to eat. And I'd be more than willing to have a go. I don't know how good at it I'd be. I've never done it before, but I'll give it a crack. Killing a sheep, though, it's a big animal. It's a big animal. How do you kill a sheep? I could kill a fish, maybe, but we'll start with fish.
But on Taransay, even fish present a challenge, and the boys couldn't have looked for the second meal of their survival trip in a more perilous part of the island.
Extreme fishing!
Hey, that's extreme. Watch your back again, mate. Come on, game over. Game over. Well, take your time.
Probably the most stupid type of fishing you've never imagined going.
Extreme one!
Extreme! Woo!
After a couple of days, we'd been eating bits of seaweed and limpets and stuff off the beach. We thought, well, we'd really need something decent to eat. There was this doddery old sheep that really was on its last legs. It wasn't looking too healthy.
The fellas said, we fancy killing a sheep. This one's ill. We're probably doing it a favour because all the sheep have liver fluke. We're probably putting it out of its misery. So I went, yeah, fair enough. Go on then. And it was surprisingly efficient.
I straddled it, sitting on its back, grabbed it under its neck, pulled its head back, dislocated its neck, drew a big knife and just slit right across its throat and just let it bleed on the rocks.
And now we're having jugs with its body parts.
This project was the biggest thing to ever loom in my life, and I had such strong ideas, as most of us did, about the way it should be.
Fresh lamb. You can't get any fresher.
It was the sort of thing we wanted to come here and experience. But you got to accept that it can't be the way you think it should be all the time and make the most of that. Yeah. That's life, really.
Yay!
Some of the other castaways presented less of a threat to livestock. At the dawn feeds, Ben got on first-name terms with the sheep, naming them after his former colleagues at Tatler magazine.
The one there is Lucy. Then we've got Emma, the one that's just come in with the really big blue mark on its back.
Yeah.
Then next door, Hermione, Laura, Harriet. I did it by their
How are you going to
markings.
feel, though, when Colin cooks up Henrietta?
I'm going to sneak her away before he gets her.
But one of the girls had to go sooner or later. And Shala was the unlucky one. The appearance on the menu of the first home-reared sheep was greeted with mixed feelings.
This is our first sheep. I actually saw him when he was in his pen waiting, and I just looked into his little eyes.
As my father says, you'll eat anything when you're hungry.
I will be eating sheep, but not just this one. Not Charlotte. I couldn't do it.
The way in which they've been calling certain parts of livestock pets would tend to die off now.
It's just food, isn't it? You've got to eat.
I just said to you a few minutes ago that, as my father says, you eat anything when you're hungry. Well, I just want to revise that. You don't. It's horrible.
I looked in the stable when he was there, and that sheep knew. It knew what was going to happen. So, no, I didn't have the lamb, but come back to me on the chickens when I say... Oh, no, I've seen the chickens, actually. Come back to me on the cows. Oh, no, not the cows.
Of the 36 castaways who arrived on the island, 3 were vegetarian. That number didn't change, but nor did their fondness for the livestock.
The big thing that we were all worried about when we came here was the kids becoming too friendly with the animals and getting really worried when Daddy goes to kill one. And in fact, it's happened with the adults more than the children.
Now, what are these sheep called?
Wedders. And why are they called wethers?
Because they've been castrated.
That's it. It's a thing that has to happen on this island. And I don't think you should shield children from the fact that animals die for the sake of a meal on your plate. We bring him in here, and then we have to kill him, don't we?
Yeah.
Now, anyone know how we kill the sheep?
Gun.
A gun. That's the piece of metal that goes into the lamb's or the pig's head. And it goes in about 4 inches when it comes out here, when the gun's fired.
Why don't we have a go?
Why don't we have a go?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't really have a go on the gun. I can't let you have a go on the gun.
However eager the children were to try their hand at slaughtering, the adult castaways weren't so sure. Before coming to the island, they'd all been asked what job they wouldn't be prepared to do.
Slaughterhouse.
Any slaughtering of animals, I can tell you that now.
Killing animals. I'm a vegetarian and I just couldn't do it.
I cannot conceive of having to do that. I wouldn't.
No, I would.
Only if it was attacking me by the throat.
If push came to shove, I would kill something.
You just have to get on and do it, really. You'd find a way. Close your eyes and stab it.
I wouldn't be very good at killing an animal. I'd have to leave that for somebody else to do.
Painter and decorator Colin Corrigan volunteered and was trained to be the community slaughterman. But he had little idea of how the job would change him.
It brings a question of mortality to me when I kill something, of my own mortality. And I'm sure it does to other people when they see a living thing come through a stable and that coming out the other end. I remember one pig we slaughtered, and it was a grey, horrible morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. And you had to get a group of bodies together to go and do this deed, and it was like a execution squad and some derelict building site out the other side of Auschwitz somewhere. It was done properly, but it was just terrible because they can jump about a bit after you've killed them. It's just a nervous reaction, but they do strike out, as I found to my cost.
Ready?
Kick me straight in the front of the head.
Sorry?
Kick me straight in the front of the head.
Oh.
You see a living thing, and then what gives you the right just to take its life like that? And if you start thinking like that, you shouldn't be a slaughterman. And I've started thinking like that. And I will do it for the share, then I won't kill again. I will still eat meat. I just won't be killing it. I suppose you could say it's a bit hypocritical, really, but it's...
You don't want to be the one?
Colin wasn't the only one to be affected by the killing.
I'm looking back now and thinking, when I came in January, I was almost like a wee laddie, you know? Just a bit balding and a bit bigger than average. It's been like a second maturity, I suppose, to me. I've grown up a lot.
Colin needed help in the slaughterhouse. The only other man to have killed a sheep on Taransay was initially keen to help.
It's hanging on the wall behind you.
I did it for 6 or 7 months, and I was putting myself through it as one of these sort of self-proving grounds, saying, oh, I can do that. And I used to fear going in there. Hated it. It was the killing. That was really getting to me. Seeing animals being shot and then dropping on the floor and going into spasm. That's hard to watch. But not for me anymore.
Finding a role in the community was crucial to all the castaways. Before coming to Taransay, they spent a week learning skills that would be called for on the island.
Is it safer to have this tucked into the welly or the same?
No. Julia Corrigan was quick to realise the sort of jobs she wouldn't enjoy.
Right, cool.
Let's shovel shit.
Oh my God.
The stuff we want is the stuff on the top, it's the solid stuff.
It's not working.
We're going to spoon it in. We need a layer of straw underneath, so it's going to be like a lasagna. It is like pate, there are worms and stuff in. And I took my goggles off to have a look, because I was all steamed up, like, you know, couldn't see anything. And I had a look, and that did make my stomach go up there.
Her brush with the toilets hopefully behind her, Julia decided her strengths lay elsewhere.
Really a people kind of person. I think I'd be more of a communicator, more of a suggestion maker. I've kind of ended up in charge of shit. And then when you poo, small amount of paper, don't go wrapping.
As reluctant but official toilet monitor, Julia ensured the community's technique was up to scratch.
It's a very necessary job.
You know, having to come down in the morning, lift up the poo chamber toilet lid and see everybody else's waste products, from used tampons to enormous leering turds to... Oh, I mean, that's not that smelly, is it?
No, I mean, it's brilliant because you've basically...
Halfway through the year, Louise Hailstrap, a consultant to the Castaway project, arrived to gauge the success of Julia's toilets.
You've had it going for 6 months.
Yeah.
Good management practice.
We all wee and we all poo and we all make a hell of a lot of mess on this planet. And I think that being remembered for trying to keep the toilets in order is a bit laughable. But I don't mind. Oh, God, I do.
The castaways were only provided with minimal home comforts in the accommodation pods. Before arriving on the island, they all had an idea of what they'd miss most about home.
I like my things like my soft blue room and my bubble bath.
A really nice bottle of Chardonnay.
I'm not a man for luxuries.
I'd miss my bath.
A warm bed, I think.
A radio.
Or Super Nintendo.
I like hot water and plenty of it.
There won't be hot water on tap. There won't be central heating. And if I'm not prepared to tolerate it, what the hell am I doing here today?
It's the personal hygiene aspects of it. You don't want to end up smelling like an old horse.
I don't know.
Maybe an eyeliner.
Tasha, you take a chapstick.
Certain foods probably going to miss, certain drinks, not that...
I was going to say I'll miss a pint in the pub.
To be honest, I could have left behind half of the stuff that we brought with us.
Brand new, never been worn.
Late in the year, the castaways held a swap sale where anything that had been brought but never used could be offered up for barter.
I think I've got some swappable things.
It smells like my granny.
Oh, look at that. Oh, lovely. We wear the same clothes day in, day out. I mean, I wore a pair of socks the other week for about a week, until it got to the stage that I could smell them even with my boots on. I mean, I've got endless jumpers I haven't even put on. I didn't even need them at all.
I've ended up with even more things I don't want or need.
Well, I said to Porrick this morning, you're looking very clean. He said, yeah, I had a shower 3 days ago. And I said, oh, right. He said, yeah, I hadn't had one for 3 weeks. Nobody notices. That's because we all stink together.
So, Ben, I haven't used soap since I had spots. For sensitive skin. It's got 0.25% moisturising creams.
For anybody sitting at home with an automatic washing machine, central heating, an electric coffee maker and a nice flushing toilet, you would probably, if you were just instantly transported to Tarrantay and had to live like that for a week, you'd be horrified by it. It has been tough in some ways, in many ways. And the challenge has been, could we adapt? And most of us have.
Not far into the year, one of the castaways, Sandy Colbeck, found adapting to island life difficult. It wasn't how she imagined feeling when she applied for the project.
This all started by the lady you can see in the photograph above my desk. She's my father's aunt, and she went to Australia just after the First World War. They didn't know what it was going to be like when they got there, and if they got there and didn't like it, they couldn't come back. And there was just something fantastically adventurous about that. And I was absolutely knocked out by this woman. I was about 7, but I've never ever forgotten her. She's been in the back of my mind all my life. And when I saw the advertisement for this, I thought, that's the beginning for me. I've got to try for that. I think what I did this year has been the nearest thing I'll get to the sort of adventure she had. It was a journey. I didn't really know what it was going to be like when I got here. I could go home if I wanted to, but that would have been giving in, and I don't like giving in.
But the early months were hard for Sandy, and she soon became deeply depressed.
I know what the cause of it was. It was the grey skies. It was the grey wind. The fact that everything is grey for so long, and it overtook me.
If you think you've got control here, you're in for a rude awakening, I think, because you don't have control here. Nature and the landscape have control here. I caught myself in the mirror one day and I thought, God, everything is so grey, including you. You look grey, your face is grey, your hair looks, although it's not grey, it looks grey. And I have to do something about this.
And I suddenly had a bright idea. And about 3 days later, I was blonde. I had my hair bleached. That really was a turning point for me. I don't know why I hadn't done it before, actually.
Oh, it's really nice.
Thank you. Everybody's saying the same thing. It's really great, yeah.
And it has made all the difference. I'm sure the weather improved as well.
When she applied to be Castaway, Sandy was clear what she wanted from the project.
I've had a pretty conventional life. When a lot of my contemporaries were dropping out and doing their own thing in the 60s, I did the very conventional thing and got married, raised children, and I always wished somehow that perhaps I'd spend a bit more time for me before I did that. Well, I didn't. But now's my time.
I don't feel any different inside, you see. I feel that the experience of coming here has allowed me to be some of the things I've always been. Just hasn't really had the opportunity or the circumstances in which that side of me can be expressed. I've just been a bit more of what I am. And that's really what was good about being here, because it doesn't always work like that elsewhere. You've got too many other things on your mind. And I think that's one of the privileges we've all experienced. Getting back to a mainstream life is going to be tough.
So many people here telling me I can catch fish.
Gordon Carey saw himself as resident fishing expert, but his fellow castaways were going to take some convincing.
We went to the lake and I said I'm going to be the first one to catch a fish on the island. So I thought, right, I'm going to catch a fish, but they're that big.
So you didn't think it was worth it? It wasn't that you went there and sat all day and tried to catch
no,
fish,
no.
and you didn't, and Colin did? Nothing like that? No.
In the race to catch the first fish, Pat and Colin resorted to some revolutionary bait.
What's on your hook?
A bit of apple.
Do you think they like apple?
I don't give a toss what they like, Ben. I ain't a fisherman, and that's top and bottom of it, mate. I just want to catch one before him.
He's got a real sense of dry humour, Gordon, and the first few months he put on this hard thing that he wasn't going to go along with mine and Pat's stupid little jokes, as he called them. But in the end, he became part of the team, and some of the wind-ups have been excellent.
Hey! Gordon! Gordon! Just a fish, a fish, a fish. A dirty big salmon trout. It nearly knocked me out.
Apple now.
Anything. Anything is worth a try, mate.
It wasn't till later that night that Colin confessed to his daughter what had really taken place at the loch.
What have you been doing?
I've been teasing Gordon. You know what I did?
Huh?
I went and took him fishing with Patrick, and I took some of the dead fish with me. And do you know what we done?
What?
Where'd you put it, Cole? Through the mate?
We put the dead fish on the hook when Gordon wasn't looking. Do you know how many times we did that?
How many?
6 times. And do you know what we told them we were catching them with?
What?
Apple now.
Anything. Anything is worth a try, mate.
Despite a good supply of Granny Smiths, Gordon failed to catch a fish.
It is not the season. It is not the season for fishing yet. When it is...
Season, not the right rod,
Anyway,
not the right bait, not the right type of apple.
The old saying, "You've got to laugh or you'd cry," is so absolutely true here. That if you couldn't roll around like a hyena, screaming your head off and kicking your legs in the air, you'd just be a hysterical wreck.
Being able to laugh at yourself and at what's going on here has been absolutely crucial. I think people who are very, very different, perhaps had nothing in common before coming here, have connected through humour, just through absurd things that have happened.
Gordon! Gordon! Oh, Lord.
To force them to decide what was really important to them, the castaways were given a strict budget for the year. There wasn't always agreement about what the priorities should be.
There is no kind of, dare I use the word, control over what is used and how much. We've got no stock taking. It's order if you can, when you will, and hope it comes.
I'm just going surveying what we've got in the cupboard for dinner today. And we've got quite a lot actually. We've got 18 packets of sea salt, which I'm thinking of doing something nice with.
I wanted to do mincemeat to go with some baked apples today. Could I do that? No.
Nice bag of chilies, organic of course, because they're the best chilies.
I can't even find any plain flour.
Bag of organic dill herb, which would go nice with the sea salt, I thought. And perhaps some organic ginger.
So, what are you going to cook for lunch today?
I don't know, but it'd definitely be organic.
People have got the wrong discing up here when it comes to this business. They're just not thinking about how we even out the use of what we've got. As a result, we haven't even got any flour to make a simple cake. What else can I say?
Sandy appointed herself supplies monitor and began to spend. By the middle of the year, her spending policy had filled the stores, but less than a quarter of the budget remained.
It's just incredible the amount of stuff we're getting every time the boat comes in. How can we possibly need this much food?
And she's still ordering stuff that we don't need.
We only thought there was 10 sacks of potatoes to come in total. She's ordered 30.
Like tomatoes, those are about to come out. Cauliflower's just arrived. We've got cauliflowers growing.
We have got a lot of big beans, haven't we? I think there's an offer on.
We're all very worried about the budget, and we are over budget.
We've only got £12,000 left and 6 months to go.
Sandy's reign ended when she resigned as supplies monitor.
You can only do the best you can do, and if my best wasn't good enough, tough, you know. All I can say is that if it wasn't good enough, they weren't falling over themselves to get in front of the queue to take on the job.
If the budget ran out, the project would be over. Under this pressure and with arguments flaring about rules and who was working hard enough, morale by midsummer was the lowest it had been for months.
Everybody acting according to every single whim that they had was a failure of willpower in this community.
I've got to tell you, Peter, that one of the things that is destroying the heart and soul of this project is the constant carping on that you do about how lazy everyone else is. Somebody support me here, because that's what doesn't
Julie,
help.
I support you because I don't support making this a personal issue.
No.
I don't want to squabble over this. The reason people are demoralised is because this project has lost way. If really true castaways, and there are a lot of people who are what I would call true castaways who are very demoralised at the moment. If they are demoralised, we've got to find something that gets us together. I've not yet heard one thing that unites us all. I haven't heard any effort to get a project that we can all do and enjoy. We have to find a project that unifies us.
Roger's idea to collect peat to burn in the winter months lifted the community's failing morale and saved thousands from the budget that would have gone on fuel.
Look at it, that is wonderful peat.
I can't believe I'm digging mud.
Bit wet still, needs a bit of drying out, but it's going down to the beach to dry out. And then we'll bag it up and put it in a boat hopefully and bring it home. It should burn with a deep red glow.
You know, I never actually even knew what peat was. That's sad. I'd heard about people peat cutting in Ireland. I thought it was something to do with potatoes.
But this isn't the best peat.
Come in! Spartacus! I'm Spartacus! No, you're not! I'm Spartacus! Help! I'm being...
Goes to show people do work.
Life was very exciting at first. We had lots of things to do. And then gradually it slowed down, and that's when you start having to be introspective.
Every single possible angle related to yourself has just been looked at by other people and by yourself, so it's kind of like an incredible examination of your character.
It was in the quieter months that Trish made a video diary, revealing something she had kept to herself for years.
Thinking about why I'm here. And the amount of times I've been asked by Tanya or Paul or Chris or Roy, why are you here? I've always lied. My life is ruined. by my weight. I mean, I've done everything from the age of 18, 19. Stuck the fingers down the throat. And had the laxatives up to 80 a day. And that's why I came here. I thought food was going to be so scarce that I would lose weight. But being amongst these people here in the steading has just been fantastic. I feel so secure. I'm a lovely person. And as far as I'm concerned, the last 27 years I've been absolutely miserable. Because I've always been trying to be the perfect size 10. I'm going to have to learn to stop it. Because my poor body's just had enough.
It's now 8 months since Trish recorded that diary.
Do you think you're overweight now?
Oh, yes. I'll always be overweight. It's part of the disorder. You'll never ever be the ideal weight. But being here has been an absolute godsend to me. And it's like there's been a brick wall up for so many years and it's been knocked down and all this light's coming in and even the world looks more colourful. It sounds dead silly. When you get up in the morning you think, God, isn't it great? Because you don't have this frigging great big black cloud above your head that's going to piss on you.
New skills have been learned by all the castaways, but with little formal training on the island, their methods haven't always been conventional. Londoners Julie and Ben found their own way of persuading cows to milk.
Well, she wasn't milking on her left side. And we thought, perhaps some nice music might help her relax and just go with the flow. And actually, it's working. This is a bit of Dvorak's New World Symphony.
Now this beats working on a computer. I think this is the most exciting thing that I've done on this island. I've always dreamt about milking cows. I've realised that I could do this. I could live in a place like this. I think I'd need to have more of a structure. I'd need to have a job and some money, and a beautiful wife or girlfriend, mistress, whatever. So I'd need to have some of that before I actually did finally come someone like this. But I have realised that I could. I'd need to have a boat as well.
Ben's newfound love of the country life brought fresh challenges throughout the year.
As soon as we think we've done everything with the sheep, suddenly we think, oh no, now it's shearing to do. Because we don't have a huge amount of experience between us, and well, people like me didn't do a lot of shearing at Tatler magazine. It means it's sort of trial and error.
Yeah.
Pause.
Hold the head back and
You just.
over it, that's it.
All right, that's better.
Get back down. Is it blunt as anything?
No. Okay. I've got some little sewing scissors.
No. Don't think so, Ben.
Maybe not.
There is that electric thing, isn't there? Hang on a minute. What about the big scissors that we got in the schoolhouse?
I've learnt a gazillion new skills, whether that be from animal husbandry to making cement, baking bread. I had no idea how to make cement or bread. Now I can do both. Might get them muddled up sometimes. And the weather. I could look around and I can work out where the wind's coming from. I can work out when it's going to rain. I can work out now. I can watch the weather so well I can know it will rain in a certain place but not in another. You know how in your life, I don't know if everyone does this, I do anyway, there are certain images that you just kind of go, and you know that is just going to be in your mind forever and it's just not going to go. I have a few of those from here. The sunsets and the light.
I'm on another planet here. It's just nothing like anything I've ever experienced before. The light is different, the air smells different, even the ocean tastes different. Powder blue skies and white sand and silence.
Fire, stone, stars, moon, waves, turf, cawing rooks, bleating sheep, deer rattling, wind across heather, moonrise, sunrise. Beautiful.
I keep having disturbing thoughts where I'm imagining myself going back home, and I'm imagining myself walking along a really busy street and on a bus. And that does scare me a little bit right now. I don't know whether I'll be able to fully go back to London.
After 9 months on the island, Trevor's greatest lesson came when he had to leave it. At the end of August, his father became critically ill, and Trevor was allowed home to Liverpool to be by his side.
But it happens to everybody, doesn't it? Everyone's dad's going to die, everybody's mum's going to die. You know, I'm only in the same boat as Christ, everybody else, or everybody else will be in that boat. It's better than burying your own kids, isn't it? So it's the way the system works.
I love you and miss you, marry me!
You know, I was saying to Toby before, Christ, there's 30 of us. When you go away for a year, some family member will die.
Right, where's Trev keep his wine then? Come on, let's go.
While on the mainland, Trevor kept a video diary. He was with his dad every day, but seeing the fate of others in the hospital also affected him.
On Thursday night, my dad has said is in the recovery room for intensive care because there's actually no beds available, and a bed did come available. And a young lad was rushed in, and he got the bed before my dad. And within 4 hours, 5 hours, he was dead. You know, when life comes and goes so quickly, and you just don't appreciate the days that you've got, the time you've got. My dad always used to say, treat every day like your last, because one day it will be. We've still got a third of the whole year to go, so I'm going to hit it with a vengeance.
With his father stable but still in intensive care, Trevor decided to return to Tarnsay. He'd been home and was back to tell the tale.
Hi, son. Are you well, mate? Yeah, it's good to be back. It's surprising, actually. Once I was driving back and you start seeing all everybody going to work and things like that, and it's shit. You know what I mean? You think it's bad here, but wait till you get back home. It's even worse. Honest, people going to work in the morning and it's just really hectic. So I'm going to enjoy my next 4 months. Definitely. And I didn't watch the programmes either when I was away. Wait till I tell you about Big Brother, though. Oof.
Shortly after Trevor's return, his father was released from hospital.
What other things struck you about being back in the real world?
Is it the real world? That's the problem. I think this is more real here than what's back there. Back there's all false. Because you get up in the morning, you get in your car and you go to work, and you're not telling the boss what you think of them. You're just getting on with it. You're coming home, you're paying your mortgage, and then you die. So really, for me, I've learned more about myself here. So I'd class this as the real world. Like, I looked at my family who I thought I knew, and then I thought of the friends I've got here, and I actually don't know my family that well compared to, say, Toby. You know, I know Toby inside out. He knows me. You know, we can virtually finish off each other's sentences, you know, and that's a friendship really that's going to be there for life.
For Tammy, leaving her family was one of the hardest things about the Castaway project. But the former secretary was soon thrown into her new life.
I went out this morning to feed the sheep and found this little lamb sprawled in a very weird position. Can't make it stand, and basically it's just a matter of waiting for Colin to come and hopefully put it out of its misery very quickly.
Tammy wasn't off the hook yet. Colin had an idea to save another orphaned lamb with the fleece of this dying one.
Do you know which mother it is?
Which?
Mother. This one thing we do, we put this coat on the other one.
And she might smell him and
smell
find
him
him.
and find him and come to him. Let me just do this first.
It was sad, but it was really down to basics. It was really down to the natural and nature itself. And it's something in my everyday life, and I should think most people's, you do not encounter, you do not come across. And to actually face that and experience it was just amazing. Well, this feels so weird.
But if I put it on back to front, he wouldn't know he's coming again.
Such things were a far cry from Tammy's former life. When she packed to come to Tarrantay 12 months ago, she had never lived away from home before.
It's me with my mum and dad. This is my nephew. Mum and dad here again. This is Pebbles. And then down here is my nan who lives with us and our little Westie dog who passed away recently.
It is a long step. I feel it's a long step that we've both taken. Tammy deserves a life of her own. She deserves to go off.
To actually come up here and just have only letter contact and everything else with my family really was a sort of jump in the deep end. But I knew at the same time, as well as jumping in the deep end, that I would probably learn more from it. And it was just doing the jump. This year has been the most wonderful learning curve ever. And I think I've compacted into a year that I probably might not have learned in 5 years. New skills, interaction with people, confidence. And just to know that I have potential in me. I have potential in me I never saw.
The presence of families on Tarrantay was crucial to the Castaway experiment. If the adults agree on anything, it's that the children more than anyone have benefited from their time on the island.
You can give them more freedom in a way because it's such a safe environment.
Natasha has had the kind of freedom that we enjoyed when we were children, that our own children don't really enjoy normally.
One of the biggest things for me was to bring Tash here to get some decent values in life inside her that you can't get on the streets of London, on the streets of Cheltenham.
We lived in the tenements of Glasgow. And if you want to go out and play, my mum would say, no, you can't because it's too dangerous. And I always vowed that when I had kids, if they wanted to do something, I'd let them go and do it.
But there were other benefits for the children besides safety and space. Back in the steading, they became an integral part of the community.
I mean, the most obvious change in them is their confidence in adult company, I think.
Are you ready, little man?
You know, that just would not have happened in our life back home. They wouldn't have had access.
There are too many sort of suspicions and ridiculous social barriers at home that prevent that sort of thing happening.
In the early months, formal education took place in the only house on the island, while the school building was being completed.
And then you open it up, like this, you've got 4 blades.
Name both a good and a bad thing about nuclear power.
Don't join up the SES, Oliver, because that makes it a bit more difficult.
No, it doesn't. I know the bad thing, I don't know the good thing.
And how many English will kill that day? That's it. 30,000 English dead.
Could you do dim?
I don't know. What next?
Write down 30,000 English dead.
Hey! Do you reckon we could have geothermal energy here?
No.
No. Not do I. It's too big and freezing, isn't it?
You know, the family's really pulled together to provide an educational system that is a bit wacky, but at the same time is completely, how can I put it, it's really vibrant. You know, if I go back and they tell me that Natasha's behind, I won't believe them.
There's a barrier being broken down somewhere, and I can't put my finger on what the barrier is. Our minds opened up to being so inquisitive about things and asking questions about things that a lot of people on the outside world aren't ready for.
School's been cancelled and we're building a snowman. I suspect they've learnt more this morning than in a week at school. I can't measure it, I can't tell you exactly what they're learning, but I just know they're having such a good time.
Tash, have we got a name for this snowman yet?
Carrot head.
For me, that is just worth several weeks at school, actually.
Now, do you know what's funny about
The system may have been dynamic, but it was not without its problems. The volunteer teachers felt 2-year-old Aaron Carey was too young to attend class all day and asked his mum, Cassie, to bring him for the mornings only.
Cassie, there's nothing I'd like more than to have Aaron there all day, but unfortunately we're trying to educate 8 children and it's really difficult.
It's pointless for him to go to school for half a day if he's not going to learn anything.
Of course he's learning things.
What is he going to learn by just playing
Why
around?
don't you come and spend a day with us and see what we're doing?
What's the point of going up there just to see just for one afternoon? You know what I mean? I don't. Rosemary, I just can't afford to come every day.
I'm not a teacher, I'm a mum. I'm a mum with 2 kids and I'm up there just like anybody else trying to work out what works best. And what we found was difficult was when we had Kira and Felix, Yone and Aaron together, it was very difficult to meet Aaron's needs because he needs a lot of adult input. He wants somebody to read him stories all the time.
I mean, to me, my son has been segregated from the school, and that is how I feel.
Opinions continue to differ over what responsibility the community had for individual children.
It's kind of upsetting because you think, gosh, I'm only doing this out of the goodness of my heart. You know, I'm looking after one of your kids and I'm now being criticised because I can't cope with both of your kids. And it's sort of...
I was promised and I was told that, you know, there are going to be enough teachers there for 8 children, you know what I mean? And it was nothing like what's going on now.
And she keeps on telling us that in Birmingham he could go to school all day long. Well,
but this is not Birmingham.
This isn't Birmingham, and we don't have the facilities.
I feel I get different treatment at times from some of the people, not all of them, because, you know what I mean, some of them, they will come and they'll laugh and they'll talk with you, but you know, behind your back, they're saying different things about you.
She wants that little boy out of her hair every day. I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it. And I don't feel like that way about my daughter, and I think it's a damn shame. I really do, because that little boy's missing out.
Varying expectations continued to produce conflict, but when it came to discipline and parental style, the project had brought together parents of radically different beliefs.
They can bring up their child the way they wish to do so. I mean, if they want to have little pigs at home, then it's fine. You know, it's all right. I don't want none in here. I'm not rearing pigs.
They parent differently from us. They parent less intensively in some circumstances than us. They're there in the stead, as our kids call it, less than we are when our kids are there.
I've seen some children here who kicks their mother. And, you know, I'm thinking, well, if he was my child, he wouldn't do it anyway. There's no way if he was my child he would do that. But if he was my child and he did that, I tell you, he would only do it once.
They have several times said, you know, if my child did what your child was doing, we would smack them. And both of Gordon and Cassie are very clear about that they feel that, you know, a good smack is something that is an effective way of disciplining children. And we disagree with them, and we don't feel that is the most effective way. And so I think introducing families into an environment like this complicates it incredibly. I mean, if you'd had no kids here, things would have been just a lot more straightforward in many ways.
3 months into the project, the last major building on the island was complete.
We're moving the school. Between us.
For the parents of Tarrantay, the completion of the school signalled a major breakthrough in the Castaway project. Aaron attended for mornings only until the Careys left in August. Despite all the ups and downs, for Roger and Rosemary, the school has been the community's greatest achievement.
The way a community handles its kids is a measure of its success, and I think the fact that we have 6 kids who are thriving and happy is a measure of the success of this community, and practically everybody here has contributed to that in some way.
The crucial experiment for us was whether we were actually capable of doing it, and I think we've shown to ourselves very clearly that we can.
We want to maintain the freedom that they've had here, and we're going to go back home and we're not going to put them back into school because we feel we can do it ourselves. We'll see what they want, but certainly initially I want to try and make a go of it.
So if we lift up and tilt.
While all the castaways had their own ideas and priorities for the year, many agree that the wider community was at its strongest when occupied by common tasks.
Down she goes.
The problem has been here that when we were setting up the community and setting up sort of the structures of how we were going to work and live, there was lots of abrasion, lots of conflict. It's incredibly healthy to take part in anything which brings the community together.
Left! Left!
It's at those moments that the good sides of people come out, which are lost in the many conflicts that we've had.
In the summer, an agricultural show on the nearby island of Harris brought the entire community a unifying diversion.
Okay, a giant cucumber.
There's all kinds of ideas.
I reckon the first thing they'd do is send over the funny doctor to sort us out.
Suddenly everyone's creativity has been unleashed.
I think not. Miss.
So, what do you reckon its chances are on winning a prize?
0.
I don't know what the competition's like. I have no idea.
If it gets judged on its circumference, it might do quite well.
I mean, there could be ladies here who spend all winter making beautiful stuff like this.
But it's not all about size, is it, Liz?
No doubt.
No.
It's just a little bit of local cement, really, isn't it? You know, joining people together.
Tanya and Rosemary were allowed to leave the island and filmed their progress as envoys to the show. For one day only, they swapped the isolation of Taransay, population 34, for the hustle and bustle of Leverborough, population 350.
Oh, God. Now that is amazing. First ice cream of the year.
This is the biggest outing of my year. This is really seriously exciting. It's kind of weird feeling. It's almost scary, sort of not quite sure what to do. I want to go to the post office now to post some letters, but a bit anxious about it. And I actually went up and asked a stranger where the post office was, and that felt quite odd, just talking to somebody different. This is Colin's sculpture called Preservation of the Species. And in the middle, there's a whalebone surrounded by barbed wire. This is Sandy's cushion, a patchwork cushion. And I've just noticed that these massive cabbages have arrived. They're absolutely enormous. I'm really seriously thinking of doing some damage to those, because I thought we stood a really good chance.
The Castaway cabbages may not have won, but Rosemary and Tanya did return to the community with a surprising list of awards.
So the Harris show was a fantastic success.
Communally, we got second prize for our cabbages. And they got auctioned off for £5 each.
It was really nice coming back here. It was really lovely being in the steading, and everyone just got so excited.
And Sandy got second for her cushion.
I can't believe it. I'm absolutely thrilled to bits, and it's the first time I've ever done any patchwork, really. Colin got a first for his sculpture. And I tried to persuade him not to send it, because I said that the Harris show wasn't ready for his idea of art.
I told him not to send it!
And he won. He won first prize. So
He's really pleased with himself about that.
The news which got the biggest roar was that Rosemary and I had eaten an ice cream.
What flavour? Vanilla, well, those sort of whippy ones with the flake in. 99
there. Did you bring 35 back?
And I must admit, we were a bit naughty. We did go to a shop in Leverhulme and we got into a complete panic because A, we'd forgotten really how to use money, and B, we didn't know what to buy. We were suddenly thinking, we saw all these things in the shop, and actually what it made us realise was that we don't need any of it. We didn't need to buy anything. And we ended up buying bizarre things. It makes you realise how much now we are isolated as a community, and how things like village fetes and prizes for your bread rolls become huge news for a community like ours. And it felt like coming home. It felt like coming home to my family.
Well, for me, the personal high is the fact that I'm here still, and I actually have achieved what I want to achieve.
The biggest thing I've learned is that I want to live this lifestyle. And I mean, it might not have to be, you know, living on a remote Hebridean island, but I would like to live in a situation where I could keep chickens and maybe even pigs. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how possible that is. And I've learned that I'm not the city slicker I thought I was.
I'm still Ben. I've seen a lot more and I've taken in a lot more, and I'm sure that will maybe show itself slightly. Maybe my friends and family will notice it more next year, but ultimately I'm still me, and I hope I've never pretended to not be.
One of the best decisions I ever made in my life was actually coming here. Because it will change my life. I know that. 100%.
If lives have changed on the island, it's down to the choices that were made here. To stay or leave, unite or divide, to try or to give in. 18 months ago, Toby Waterman brought a poem to his selection interview.
To laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out for another is to risk involvement. To place your ideas, your dreams, before the crowd is to risk loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To live is to risk dying. To hope is to risk despair. To try it all is to risk failure. But risk we must, because the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. The man, the woman who risks nothing, does nothing, has nothing, is nothing.
There'll be a different Castaway adventure next year, this time lasting weeks rather than 12 months. If you're interested in becoming a castaway and are reasonably fit and healthy, call 0208 248 8388 or visit the website at www.bbc.co.uk/Castaway 2000.